Welcome back everyone, I am Saptaparni from BioLive. Hope all of you are doing very well. So in today's video we are going to discuss about primary and secondary succession. So if you are new to my channel, I would like to request you to kindly subscribe to my channel by pressing the bell button below for more such videos, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Okay. So this video is going to be useful for UG and PG zoology students, NEET aspirants and also for NEET aspirants. So before beginning, we must know what is succession. See, succession is the temporal change in the community structure of a given land or of a given site. Okay, that means on a given site, obviously with time the site does not remain same. Okay, different communities invade that land or invade that site, and with time the community structure gets changed. Okay, and that type of phenomenon is known as succession. Okay, now this succession can be of two types. One is primary succession, another one is secondary succession. Now what is primary succession? When the land is a bare land or newly exposed land, that means the land is devoid of any organic matter, and when on that land succession occurs, then that type of succession is called primary succession. Now you may ask me a question, why the land is devoid of any organic matter? Because the land was never occupied by any community before. Okay, so the land is newly exposed, so no community ever existed on that land. That is why the land is devoid of any organic matter. Okay, so primary succession occurs on a site which was never occupied by any community, That means it is a newly exposed surface or site, or we can call it as a new land or bare land. Okay, see here, this is a bare land, no community have ever existed here. So when the pioneer species invade this land, the succession starts, and that type of succession is called primary succession. Now what is pioneer species? Pioneer species is the first species that invade any kind of bare land or disturbed patch. Okay, like here these grasses are the pioneer species. Okay, now what could be the examples of bare land or newly exposed lands? Like sand dunes, rocky outcrops, newly exposed surface after the glacial retreat, remains of volcanic eruption, etc. Okay, when on these surfaces the succession starts, then that type of succession is called primary succession. Now let's understand this with an example from sand dunes of Lake Michigan. Okay, see here, first of all, what is a sand dune? See, sand is the product of pulverized rock, okay, which gets deposited by wind or water and pile up in the long inward slopes to form the sand dunes. Okay, now one character of this sand dune is that it is not stabilized, so it can shift under the force of wind or water. Okay, similarly the sand dunes of Lake Michigan was also unstable. Okay, now the first species or the pioneer species that invaded this land was beach grass. Okay, this beach grass invaded these sand dunes and they stabilized the dune with their extensive rhizome system. Okay, so now the sand dune is to some extent stabilized, so they cannot shift from one place to another under the force of wind or water. Okay, now when these beach grasses got dead and decayed, they added organic matter to the sand. Okay, as a result the sand became more and more suitable for the next community, that is mat forming shrubs. Okay, when the mat forming shrubs and these mat forming shrubs made the sand dune more stabilized. Okay, now after the death and decay of these shrubs, the soil becomes more and more nutrient rich, okay, and becomes more and more stabilized. So now softwood trees like pines can invade there. Okay, now when the pines got dead and decayed, the soil becomes more and more nutrient rich, and then the hardwood tree, that is the oak tree, replaced the pines and dominated over there. Okay, now this oak tree is the climax species here, because this oak tree is not replaced by any other tree. Why? Because actually it was a sand dune, right? So the moisture content on the soil is very less for any other trees which are more moisture demanding. Okay, so that is why oak is the last tree here, or oak tree communities are the last tree here. So it is the climax species here. So okay, so we can see that the pioneer species, that is the beech grass, and successive species like shrubs, pines, etc., ameliorated the environment and paved the way for invasion of the next species, and that is how the primary succession in the bare land of sand dune occurred. Okay, now coming to the secondary succession. See, the difference between primary and secondary succession lies in the land on which the succession is started. Okay, see here, in case of secondary succession, succession never starts on a bare land or newly exposed land. Rather, it starts on a disturbed patch. Now, what is a disturbed patch? See, in case of secondary succession, the site or the land is previously occupied or vegetated. Okay, previously occupied some kind of communities, but it got disturbed by any natural or anthropogenic disturbances. Anthropogenic means man-made disturbances. Okay, so the land was previously occupied by different communities, but due to some natural or anthropogenic disturbances, the communities of that land got either completely or partially removed. Okay, so now the land becomes a disturbed patch without disturbed patch with removal of all or partial community of that land. So on that land, when the succession starts, the pioneer species invades. That type of succession is known as secondary succession. Okay, see, this was a normal patch of community. Say this is a forest community. Okay, so due to some natural or anthropogenic disturbances, this forest community got completely disturbed. Okay, so now this patch is known as disturbed patch, where the community is completely removed due to some disturbances, natural or anthropogenic. Now, when the new species or pioneer species of grasses invade this community, the succession starts here again, and that type of succession on the disturbed patch which was previously occupied by some communities is known as secondary succession. Okay, now let's understand this with an example from an abundant crop field. Okay, so see, this is an abundant crop field. So as it is an abundant crop field, that means it was never devoid of any organic matter. Okay, it was earlier populated by different agricultural crops. Okay, but now the crop field is abundant. That means it is under the anthropogenic disturbances. Now, in an abundant crop field, obviously it will not remain abundant for a long time. So now you can see, after some time, the annual crabgrass invade this crop field. Okay, now annual crabgrass, from where the annual crabgrass come? Okay, annual crabgrass is the pioneer species here, as it is the first species to invade here. So the seeds of these annual crabgrass remain dormant under the soil. Okay, and under the exposure of correct light and moisture content, they germinated. Okay, and they populated the abundant crop field. Okay, but you must remember that they are not long-lived, they are short-lived, as they are annual in nature. So in the late summer, you can see that the seeds of horseweed, now the second species is horseweed, which was carried by wind from the adjacent undisturbed patches to this crop field, is now germinating, and they replaced this crabgrass. Okay, so now the horseweed are germinating here, and the horseweed remain there for spring also. Now in the second summer, you will see that the horseweed is now replaced by white aster and ragweed. Okay, in the third summer, you will see that these white aster and ragweed are now replaced by broom sage. Broom sage is a perennial branch grass. Okay. Now, the abundance of organic matter and the ability to exploit the soil moisture permit the broom sage to dominate this place. Okay. Now, there are different clumps of broom sage in this place now. Okay. Now, between the two clumps, pine seedling starts to grow there. Okay. Between the clumps of broom sage, the pine seedlings now starts to grow there. Okay. And after 5 to 10 years, after 5 to 10 years, you will find that pine trees are tall enough and now they shade the broom sage. As a result, the broom sage got replaced by pine trees. Okay. And after several years, you will see that pine is a softwood tree. Now, hardwood species like oak, hickory, ash are dominating the pine trees. Okay, so pines are now getting replaced by hardwood trees. Okay, these trees go up through pines and pines eventually die and the hardwood trees dominate over this place. Okay, so these hardwood trees are the climax species here. Now, under these hardwood trees, the dogwood, redbud, sourwood, hydrangea remain as understory trees as they are shade tolerant in nature. But here, the climax species is actually the hardwood trees, which cannot be replaced by any other more dominating species. Okay. Now, one question may come to your mind that from where these pioneer species or the first species that is populating any bare land or any disturbed patch come. Okay. See, these pioneer species may come from adjacent undisturbed patches. Okay. From there, they may get dispersed. Okay. The dispersal of those. Now, one question may come to your mind that from where the pioneer species re-enter a community after disturbance. Okay. First of all, they can re-enter a community after disturbance by the process of dispersal. Dispersal means migration from the adjacent undisturbed patches. Okay. And another thing is that they may already be there in that disturbed patch as dormant seed. Like in the previous example, we have seen that the crabgrass seed was actually under the soil of that abundant crop field. And they remained dormant and under correct light and moisture they germinated. Okay, so the dormant seed under the soil of the disturbed patch can also re-enter or reappear as the pioneer species in that field. Okay, or some resistant egg or larval stages which were not killed or not got disturbed by the disturbances, they again reappear. And we know that some species have regeneration power. Okay, so maybe those species are damaged by the disturbance but not killed, so they can regenerate after disturbance and they can also reappear as pioneer species there. Okay, so this is overall all about primary and secondary succession. Okay, so I think now what is the difference between these two type of succession is clear in your mind, and you can also explain that with an example. Okay, so if you find this video useful, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends, and don't forget to comment down below what type of video do you want from my side. Okay, thanks for watching and happy learning.